Hello YouTubers, today I'm going to show you how you can etch acrylic blanks using the Silhouette Curio. So this is a clear blank, this is a clear 3-inch circle. This one's clear, this one's black, and then this one up here I have colored in with some markers. This is the reason I bought the Curio. I thought this was the coolest thing ever. You can wear these, I've been wearing these as necklaces. You can also make ornaments with them for the tree. So let me show you all the supplies you're going to need. Alright, so to etch these, the sticky of the mat, this is the embossing mat, is not enough to hold these in place when the machine's going. So you need to make this template. This was, something got stuck to it and pulled it all off. This has nothing to do with our project, so don't worry. But you're going to need to make this template. I have used the chipboard from Silhouette. You don't really have to use the chipboard. I thought it was going to be something else, but basically it's glorified cardboard. So if you have cardboard, you could use that too. We're going to use the machine to cut the holes. And then something else you need to know is that this right here is a leftover mess from where this is etched. It's etching and it's physically removing material. So you need to understand that it's going to get messy basically. The reason this one isn't messy is I saved the template to put back in it. But it's going to get messy. So I have a paintbrush to brush away the dust as we go. And painter's tape to hold this down for extra measure. I'm going to use, this is the Chomas, and see it's dirty, the Chomas etching tool. She's got one for engraving and one that's a blunt end for clay. Make sure to buy the engraving one. I'll put the links down below. The reason that I chose this, you could do this with a standard blade as well. But when you do, the end result's much rougher. The other problem is that every 2 seconds you have to stop to clean out all of the dust out of the cap. But because this is open, you can just let it go and then stop it periodically to remove any dust. You can also buy markers if you want to. These are alcohol markers, and the reason that I went with them is I like the double edge, but they want porous surfaces. So when the one that I colored, what makes it nice is it colors the etching part, and then if any gets on this smooth acrylic part, you can just wipe it right back off. Alright, these are the acrylic blanks. I bought these from Chameleon. Now, these are roughly 2 millimeters tall. The platform and the embossing mat we're going to use makes it where it'll be tall enough to etch. Now, if they're taller or shorter, you're going to have to change the platform and the base and the thickness in order to compensate. This little purple one here, I don't know if you can tell, isn't quite as fat as this one, which means you're going to have to, whenever I get around to etching this one, it's going to be a little bit different, which means I'm either going to have to adjust the thickness or the platforms. Long story short, this is trial and error, and buy extra ones of these. They're not that expensive because you will mess them up and it'll be okay. The Curio kind of lends itself to a little trial and error, so don't worry. But we will be etching a black one for one of my little children I teach. Alright, so I wanted to show you something real quick. This is, I've been using my Cameo. Even though my Curio is plugged in and set as my default cutter over here, it's still, and don't worry, it's sinking because there are no bases in it. My mat over here is still on my Cameo mat. So what I'm going to do is go back to page settings, come down here, and go down to, you want the Curio cut 8x6, because if you go with the embossing mat, it doesn't show you the cutting map. It doesn't show you the grid. See, I still have my big 12x12 square here. That's because right here it says intermediate size. So we're going to go with 8.5 and hit enter. And Studio being awesome like it is frozen and is now not responding, and I'm getting the circle. This normally happens to me when I change the design, when I change the page settings. Generally, don't panic and let it circle until it decides that it wants to respond and work again. This could be a couple of minutes. All right, so it is decided, see? So now we're 8.5, and now we need to make this one 6 and hit enter. And it's going to freeze on me again. Is he not responding? Circle, circle, circle. So, just so you know how to change them, and then not responding, don't panic. And don't keep clicking any buttons, they'll just freak it out more. Alright, so I sat patiently by, and now we have our base and our mat like we should. Now, what you're going to do is draw a circle, hold down the shift key, and we're going to draw 2 of them actually. So go back to your arrow, click one of my circles, and I'm going to go over here to the scale window. Since my circles, we held down the shift key, so they should be the exact same size. So I want one to be 2 inches because I have a 2-inch, the little ones are 2 inches, and then the big ones that I was showing you are 3 inches. So these are going to be our 2 templates for our acrylics. And you're going to want to put them kind of close together so that way we can put 2 more over here and use the mat for multiple templates after the sticky wears off on these 2. So now we're going to go to cut settings. We're going to come down here to Chipboard, and we'll just use their settings in here. We're going to set the blade to 5. We're using all of the mats, all the platforms. Let's not do any of that, and we'll double cut. And I haven't had any problems with these settings, so I just leave them as is. So let's go set up our bases and platforms. Alright, so I'm using the little base, 8.5 by 6, and it's set on the platforms to use all of the platforms. So 1, 2, and 2. So basically, the Curio wants to cut things that are roughly 5 millimeters tall. Depending on the material and what you're doing, you can kind of get away with maybe taller or shorter, depending on if the material has give, blah, blah, blah. But roughly shoot for 5 millimeters. So if you're trying to etch something or cut a material or do something, keep that in mind. So we're going to take off our sticky. This mat is just going to be used for the templates for this, because once you have a mat and a template all lined up, rather than recutting a template, I just let this mat be for etching. The other thing, I don't know if you can tell, the etching just kind of it's a bit messy. So, you know, you don't want it on all of your mats. And very scientifically, I just stick the chipboard on here, and then I roughly cut off the extra. I use this as insurance. The painter's tape, kind of as insurance that everything will be kind of held in place. Alright, so we will stick this on top of our bases. Let's go over to the Curio. Alright, so right now, this guy is blinking and my screen is saying sinking, sinking, sinking. So what you're going to want to do is take your base, push it all the way in, and then hit the double arrow button. So my light is now solid and my computer screen is no longer saying sinking, sinking, sinking. Now you're going to take your blade. There's a little thing down here at the end. It's a little thing down here at the end, and you can adjust your blade in it. So we're going to adjust it to 5, like the computer said. Put it in tool 1, which is the red one, and turn it. And then we are going to hit start on our computer. So now what you can do is pop these up, but keep them because they're going to act as a little screen to help protect your mat when it's not in use. More of a side note, I took the bases out and now it says load media. So that's what that means. It means that it's found the machine, but now it's like put something in it. So you're going to go to File and Merge. And the design we're going to do is our mandala design, mandala number 1. The reason you want to do merge and not open is the merge will get it to open in the current window. If you do File and Open, it will open it in a new window and you won't have your circles. So what we're going to do is shrink our mandala down and center it roughly in our circle. Now the thing you have to keep in mind, that I learned the hard way, is there's a hole in the top of your acrylic blank here. If the etching tool goes in it, it will throw it off kilter. That is why I have one that is colored in, so hopefully you won't notice the double lines on it. So just keep in mind that you don't want to get as big as you can, unless you have one that doesn't have a hole in the top. Because if you do, then it'll go in there and you'll have all sorts of trouble. So roughly center. And then we're going to do File and Merge, and then it's our circle font. Circle monogram. So I'm going to put Sydney's initials in here. And you have to merge each one in. Oh, and the way I did that, File and Merge, is this is the first one, this is the middle one, and this is the last one. Now, you don't want them really, really close together because these aren't really crisp lines the machine's going to make. They're going to be a little rough because you're etching. So keep that in mind that you're going to need. Don't squish them right next to each other like you could with vinyl. Alright, so basically you just eyeball these, and keep in mind too, you don't want it really, really close to the edge because, like I said, these aren't really crisp lines. You know, you don't want them to blur together into some kind of giant mess. Alright, so fidget until you get them where you want them. And remember, leave room for the hole at the top. And now what we're going to do is, why don't we hold Shift and click all of these. And let's do Object and Group. Now, we're going to go over to our embossing window. Technically, we are debossing. If you emboss, it will reflect your image. You don't want that. And this window only works if the Curio is what's plugged in, and it's set to your default cutter. So you can right click and see it says somewhere in here, make default, set as default cutter. Mine already is. The reason you can see all of these is I have business edition. So that's why maybe I have some of the windows that you don't have, or some buttons that you don't have. So back over here, double click on click on your embossing. Now you can actually put different patterns. So you can have one pattern here and one pattern here if you wanted to. So I tend to like this one, the crosshatch. And what you're gonna do is you're going to move, I just move it all the way down. and it stops at 0.02. And I click it down further. And obviously you can see the more I click, the more it's filling in. Now don't hold this button down, because if you go past, there's a lag in it. There's a lag in it, and if you go past 0.04 or 004, it will freak the computer out. And then this happens too. It means it can't do anymore. So go back up. And that's our last one that we can do. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna etch all these little lines in. Now I will tell you, this crosshatch takes longer to do because you're making 2 sets of lines. But I think it gives a deeper, prettier etch. My other favorite ones are the concentric circles, which makes little circles in all the little places. And my other favorite one is the spiral. And see, the spiral makes spirals out from everything. And I think it looks really good on the circles, the spiral does. But we're gonna use the hatch today. And then this is the parallel lines. It makes parallel lines. And see, this one I probably could make them a little bit closer. Also, the closer the lines are together, the longer it will take to etch. Also, the more material that will come out when it is etching. Let's go to the paint bucket and fill him in. Actually, not the paint bucket. Go to the line tool, because these are technically all lines. And let's make him pink. The reason I did that is when we go over here to our cut settings, we can go to advanced and cut by color. So that way we're not making another circle. We're not cutting the circle again, but we don't have to move it, because you don't want to move this circle because you've already got him set up. So also put your, let's look at this real quick. All right, so we still have room now that it's all lit up. Once you've made your circle and etched it, don't fidget with it anymore. Leave it be, because it will bog down. You have all of these cut lines, it will bog down the software and probably crash it if you try to put all these cut lines in here and then move it around everywhere. So put it in the spot and then put your cut lines in there. Now what I do, so we're on our pink setting, and what I use is just regular cardstock. Now ignore this, I'll tell you what to do. Now you're going to take your thickness all the way down to 1, and let's take our speed down to 2. That's just what I like to do. We're going to pop in our acrylic. They come with plastic covers to help keep them from chipping. So remove the side that you're going to etch. Okay, and what you want to do is you want to line up your hole the best you can to be vertical. All right, we're going to take our etching tool and go back to the machine. A side note, these are the clear ones. They come with these paper. Get the paper a little bit wet and it'll peel right off. All right, so you're going to take out your blade and you're going to replace it with your etching tool. And it just pops right in like a blade. Now what we're going to do is you're going to take your base, scooch it all the way in. And hit the double triangles on the side. And we're going to hit the send a silhouette button. Okay, it can totally sound like nails on a chalkboard. Don't worry, that's okay. Also, I sit here and babysit mine. I don't let it run by itself. I feel like it knows when it's by itself and it's going to cause trouble. Okay, so I pushed the pause button on the side. The double arrow button, I pushed it, so now I can remove my bases. Alright, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paintbrush and gently wipe off any of the dust and wipe the dust kind of off my blade here. And you can kind of see some of the dust that's come here, and that's what I mean when I say it's messy. You can also take it out, and I wanted to show you it doesn't do things in order. So see, like it's etched part of this and it etched some of here and then it's gone over somewhere else. Don't worry, it's gonna do that. It'll go eventually get back over there. So what you can do now is put it all the way back in, hit the double arrow button again, it'll reset and go back to where it was etching, okay? Now, if by any means this binds for any reason, what that means is this thing is trying to move and this isn't moving. You can always hit the pause button and hit the pause button, the double arrow button, take the base out, put it back in, and it'll reset on its own. So that's a way you can save a design if somehow it's gotten caught up in stuff. So, and we will let it go back etching. Periodically, I just either stop it or I kind of, when it goes to somewhere new, I just take the paintbrush and swipe it. Very scientific. Alright, we are done. And I've hit the double arrow button and I have brushed it off and pulled the base out a little bit. Now, you can send it through again, just the thickness, and make it go in a little bit deeper and etch out some more if you really want to. I'm happy with this, so I'm going to remove it. Alright, so as you can probably see now, there's dust here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go take this and wipe off all the dust into my garbage can. The reason I want to do this is because this dust is going to get stuck to my mat and will prevent these guys from sticking in the future. So I don't want that, so I'm going to go dust off my mat. Alright, so see, I've wiped off all the dust so it doesn't get on my mat. And then you just want to gently pry it off your mat. There you go. Now I wanted to point something out. See, as much room as I left on my screen, see how this still kind of got a little bit close? We'll call it one of the quirks of being handmade. But see, you do need to leave room or else it will kind of all join together. So to store my mat, all I'm going to do is take my circle that I cut out and put back on it. That way it leaves as much of my mat sticky as I can. Also, I just stuck him down here, partly because he was a brand new mat. But when you've used your mat a bit or you're not 100% sure in it, you can tape these down on the edge as a little extra insurance, just in case you're a bit worried about it becoming loose. And then you can cut another circle over here. So you can use the mat quite a lot for this. Alright, so if you want to color them, I've used these markers, or alcohol markers. So all you'd really do is, on these markers, there's one really fat end in case you've etched all of it, and one really skinny end. And you just go in and color. The nice thing about this is that the top one, you can take it and, let me see, wipe it off, and see it will wipe off. It'll stay in the etched part and it'll wipe off on the clear part, on the non-etched part. This is the one I was telling y'all about. It got stuck up here and see my double line. So what I did was I hit the pause button and then realigned it. So I took the base out and then put it back in, and see how it was able to get back on track. So you can save it if it gets off track and then just color it like I did. Also, this is our Santa. And as much as I want him to be an ornament, Simple generally seems to work better. The complicated designs just kind of turn into a bit of a mess because it's not making precise lines. And I'm also pretty sure I ran this guy through twice, so you can see about how a little bit more crisp the lines are than this one. So keep that in mind too. And this one I added a jump ring through the hoop so that I can put it on a necklace when I wear these. All right, I think that is everything there is to know about etching with acrylic blanks. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. If you have any suggestions, please let me know and I will see you soon with a new tutorial.